Get my missus, I'm on my way.
Cheers. Yeah, just a sec. Is there an Uni Pantuso here?
That's you, Coach.
Speaking.
A sitcom is like a warm, happy home. But for 20 of our favorite stars, that home was left empty too soon. Their early passings left fans heartbroken and confused. The reasons why are chilling, from rare illnesses to personal battles. We'll reveal how one star passed from an aggressive illness just weeks after their diagnosis. 1. Matthew Perry.
The truth is, Dad, we're trying.
What?
Yeah, we're trying to get pregnant.
Oh, my God, this is so exciting. Well, get back in there. I'll guard the door.
For an entire generation, Matthew Perry was Chandler Bing. On the massive hit show Friends, he was the master of sarcasm, the king of the one-liner. He was the friend everyone wished they had. You see, Perry was so good at his job that many of his most famous lines were ones he came up with himself. He was a natural. What many overlooked is that before he ever got into acting, Perry was a world-class athlete. He was a nationally ranked junior tennis player in his home country of Canada. He was so good he considered trying to go pro before the acting bug bit him. His wit was just as fast as his serve, and it made him a global superstar. But not all things are what they seem. Behind that quick wit, Perry was fighting a massive, decades-long battle. He was very open about his struggles with dependency, writing about it in his honest memoir. He spent millions of dollars trying to get clean and help many others on their own journey. But the fight was relentless. In 2023, the world was stunned to learn he had been found unresponsive in the hot tub at his Los Angeles home. He was only 54. The official report noted the effects of a powerful substance, one he had been taking for treatments. It was a heartbreaking end for a man who gave so much joy. Perry's passing was a quiet tragedy at his home, but the next star's passing was a sudden, public shock that happened right in front of his co-stars. 2. John Ritter. John Ritter was comedy royalty. His father was the famous country music singer Tex Ritter, but John made his own name as a genius of physical comedy. For years, he was the lovable Jack Tripper on Three's Company. He could trip, fall, and do a double take better than anyone in the business. The thing nobody tells you is how dedicated he was to the gag. He once dislocated his shoulder while filming a scene, but kept going until the director yelled, "Cut." He was a true pro. Years later, he found huge success again, playing the funny, caring dad on the sitcom 8 Simple Rules. It was on the set of that show in 2003 that the unthinkable happened. While rehearsing, Ritter suddenly felt sick. He was sweating, felt pain, and then he collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors believed he was having a heart attack. But here's the kicker. It wasn't a heart attack at all. Ritter had a rare, hidden condition called an aortic dissection. It's a tear in the main artery coming from the heart. It's almost always fatal if not caught. Tragically, it was misdiagnosed, and he passed away that night. He was only 54 and the star of a hit show. Ritter's passing was a terrible medical accident. But the next, Star's End, was a violent, terrible act that stunned the entire world. 3. Phil Hartman.
Slavery was abolished in this country. No offense, Catherine.
Why would I be offended by slavery being abolished?
I don't know. I just like to cover my bases.
Phil Hartman was a legend. Many people called him the glue on Saturday Night Live because he could hold any sketch together. He was the ultimate professional. Whether he was playing a over-the-top character or a simple straight man, he was always perfect. After SNL, he found even more fame as the self-centered radio anchor Bill McNeil on the sitcom News Radio. And if you ever watched The Simpsons, you know his voice. He was the unforgettably smooth-talking Troy McClure and the bumbling lawyer Lionel Hutz. A little-known fact is that before he was famous, he was a graphic artist. He actually designed album covers for big rock bands like America. Hartman was known as one of the nicest, most dependable people in Hollywood. That's what made his passing in 1998 so horrifying. It was a domestic tragedy. His wife, who had her own serious struggles with harmful substances and emotional issues, was part of the problem. One night, after a bad argument, she waited until he was asleep. She then took his life with a firearm before later taking her own. The news was devastating. He was only 49, and Hollywood lost one of its greatest talents in a senseless, terrible crime. Hartman's passing was a crime that shocked everyone. The next star's story is a different kind of tragedy, a long, painful health battle that ended far too young. 4. Michelle Thomas.
I saw somebody running around with one of your girlfriends, I'd run and tell you guys.
But I don't have a girlfriend.
And I already know my girl's going out with 4 other guys anyway.
If you watched 90s TV, you knew Michelle Thomas. She had a smile that could light up the entire screen. She first got our attention as Justine, the girlfriend of Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. But she became a true fan favorite as Myra Monkhouse on Family Matters. She was the smart, funny, and slightly obsessed girlfriend of Steve Urkel. Their scenes together were some of the funniest on the show. What many people don't know is that she was a true pageant queen. Before acting, she was crowned Miss Talented Teen New Jersey. She was also a gifted singer. She was bright, talented, and had her whole life ahead of her. But in 1997, she received a devastating diagnosis. She had a very rare and aggressive form of stomach cancer called a desmoplastic small round cell tumor. To put it mildly, this was a terrible, unfair fight. She was brave and fought hard, going through intense treatments. She even managed to appear in her last few episodes of Family Matters, but the illness was just too much. She passed away in 1998, surrounded by her family. She was only 30 years old. A rare illness is a terrible fate, but the next star's life ended in a split second, in a violent, fiery crash on a dark highway. 5. Lamont Bentley. Lamont Bentley was the definition of 90s cool. As Hakeem Campbell on the hit show Moesha, he was the loyal, funny best friend who was always there with a good line. He and Brandy, who played Moesha, had amazing chemistry. He was a core part of that show for its entire 6-season run. But here's something you might not know. Acting wasn't his only talent. Bentley was also a rising rapper. He was part of a hip-hop duo and was making a name for himself in the music world. He had big plans for his career after Moesha ended. Tragically, he never got the chance to see those dreams come true. In 2005, Bentley was driving alone late at night on a freeway in Southern California. For reasons that are still unclear, he lost control of his vehicle. His car went over an embankment and rolled over. He was ejected from the car onto the highway. Then, in a truly horrific turn of events, he was struck by multiple other cars. He was gone in an instant. He was only 31 years old. It was a shocking, violent, and terribly public end for such a beloved young star. Bentley's end was a sudden, terrible accident. The next star's passing was just as tragic, but it happened all alone in a hotel room. 6. David Strickland. On the sitcom Suddenly Susan, David Strickland played the quirky and funny co-worker Todd Stites. He was a key part of the show's ensemble, known for his nervous energy and great comedic timing. He was a close friend of the show's star, Brooke Shields, and was seen as a bright, rising talent in the comedy world. He was building a solid career and had a role in a movie with a major Hollywood star. It seemed like everything was going his way, but behind the scenes, it was a very different story. Strickland was fighting a deep, dark battle. He had bipolar disorder and also struggled with a serious dependency on harmful substances. His friends and co-stars tried to help him, but his personal demons were powerful. In March 1999, he flew to Las Vegas. He spent his last night at a motel. There, all alone, he made a tragic personal choice. He ended his own life. He was only 29. The cast of Suddenly Susan was devastated. They dedicated the show's season finale to him, a heartbreaking episode where his character is missing. Strickland's personal demons won in the end. The next star was also a child actor who faced a lifetime of similar struggles. 7. Adam Rich.
Here's your hat before it melts.
Keep it.
Boy, older brothers sure are weird.
In the late 1970s, Adam Rich was one of the biggest child stars on the planet. He was Nicholas Bradford, the adorable, mop-topped youngest son on the hit show 8 is Enough. He was only 8 years old when the show started, and he became America's little brother. Here's a real wow factor. His page boy haircut became a national sensation. So many kids went to the barber asking for the Nicholas haircut that it became a defining style of the era. He was on lunchboxes, on magazine covers, everywhere. But the thing nobody tells you about being that famous, that young, is what happens when it stops. When the show ended, Adam Rich had a very hard time. He struggled for decades with his mental health and with a severe dependency on substances. His life was full of run-ins with the law and personal problems. It was a classic, sad story of a child star who couldn't escape the shadow of his early fame. In January 2023, he passed away at his home. He was 54. The cause was a fatal reaction to a powerful substance, a tragic end to a very troubled life. Adam Rich's child stardom led to a troubled life. The next star wasn't a child actor, but he was a beloved part of a classic 70s show before he was gone too soon. 8. Theodore Wilson.
Go over there and break the bones of the bony one.
No. You'll have to come through me first.
Yeah, me too.
And me too.
Yeah, me too. Who the hell do you think you are, man? You overdressed termite?
Theodore Wilson was one of those actors whose face you know instantly. He was a master character actor, a guy who could show up for one scene and steal the entire episode. His most famous role was Sweet Daddy Williams on the classic 70s sitcom Good Times. He was the smooth-talking, purple suit-wearing numbers runner who always had a funny line. But he was everywhere. He was on That's My Mama, The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, and dozens of other shows. He was one of the most reliable and hard-working actors in the business. He was a staple of television, a man who brought laughs to millions every week. That's why it was such a shock when he passed away so suddenly. In 1991, Wilson suffered a major stroke. It was a complete shock to his friends and family. He was rushed to the hospital, but the complications from the stroke were too severe. He passed away just a few days later. He was only 47 years old. It was a huge loss for the TV world, a workhorse actor taken right in the middle of his career. A stroke at 47 is a medical shock. But the next star's passing was even more sudden, a fast-moving illness that took him in just a few weeks. 9. Dustin Diamond.
My darling, be my partner. This could be you.
For millions of kids in the 90s, Dustin Diamond was Samuel Screech Powers. On Saved by the Bell, he was the goofy, lovable nerd of the group. He was a brilliant physical comedian, and his character was a huge part of the show's success. Here's a fact that many people overlook. He was the only member of the original cast to be in every single version of the show. From Good Morning, Miss Bliss, to The College Years and The New Class, he played Screech for almost 13 years. He was the one constant in the Saved by the Bell universe. After the show, his life was not easy. He had trouble finding work, had legal problems, and felt like an outcast from the cast that made him famous. He was trying to get his life back on track when he felt a strange pain in his neck and found a lump. He went to the doctor, and the news was the worst it could be. It was stage 4 small cell carcinoma, a very aggressive lung cancer. The diagnosis was a complete shock. He began treatments immediately, but the illness was just too fast. Just 3 weeks after his diagnosis, in February 2021, Dustin Diamond passed away. He was only 44. Diamond's illness was unbelievably fast. The next star also battled cancer, a long private fight that many fans never even knew about. 10. Farrah Fawcett.
I met the most fantastic woman. I had the most passionate night of my life. We made a connection like you would not believe.
Really? What was her name?
I don't know.
On the popular 90s sitcom Wings, the airport was full of quirky characters. One of the most memorable was Alex Lambert, played by Farrah Fawcett. She was the tough, smart helicopter pilot who moved into the airport terminal. Her character was a new love interest, and she dated both of the Hackett brothers, Joe and Brian. She was a strong female character on a show full of goofy guys. But what many fans might not remember is that she was also a major voice actress. She was the voice of a superhero, Big Barda, in a popular animated series. After her time on Wings and other shows, Fork stepped away from the spotlight. She moved back to her home state of Texas to raise her 2 sons. She lived a very quiet and private life, away from the glare of Hollywood. That's why many fans were so shocked to learn of her passing in 2022. She had been battling cancer for several years, but she kept her fight completely private. She didn't want a big public fuss. She passed away at her home, surrounded by her family. She was only 54. Fork's battle was quiet and private. The next star's struggles were anything but, leading to a sad and lonely end. 11. Robert Pastorelli.
I don't need to do more, 'cause you make me feel,
Robert Pastorelli was a truly unique talent. On the hit show Murphy Brown, he played Eldon Bernecki. He was the quiet, philosophical house painter who seemed to be working on Murphy's townhouse for 7 straight years. His character was a fan favorite, a calm center in Murphy's chaotic world. The thing nobody tells you is that the role was only supposed to be a one-time guest spot, but Pastorelli's chemistry with the show's star, Candice Bergen, was so good that producers made him a series regular. Before acting, he was a serious New York stage actor, but his real life was much darker than his calm TV persona. To put it mildly, his personal life was filled with tragedy. His girlfriend passed away at their home in a very mysterious incident that cast a shadow over him. He also had a long and difficult battle with substance dependency. He was in and out of programs, trying to get his life together. In 2004, he was found at his home in Hollywood. He had passed away from a fatal reaction to substances. He was only 49. It was a sad, lonely end for a man who made millions laugh. Pastorelli's life was full of dark twists, but the next star's end was a different kind of darkness, a violent, senseless act that cut short a rising career. 12. Merlin Santana.
Rule number 1. If your behind don't pick up those shoes, then my shoes are gonna pick up your behind. Yes, sir.
Merlin Santana was a star on the rise. He grew up in front of the camera, starting with a role on The Cosby Show. But he truly broke out as a teenager on The Steve Harvey Show. He played the smooth-talking, girl-crazy high school student Romeo Santana. He was a fan favorite, known for his good looks and his perfect comedic timing. He was nominated for awards and was seen as one of the most promising young actors of his generation. He had a huge career ahead of him. That career was cut short in a way that is almost too awful to believe. In 2002, Santana and a friend were sitting in a car in Los Angeles. They were just talking. Suddenly, two men approached the car and opened fire. Santana was hit, and his life was taken. He was only 26 years old. The story that came out later was heartbreaking. The attackers had wrongly accused Santana of a terrible crime. It was a case of mistaken identity. A completely innocent man lost his life for no reason at all. It was a senseless, violent end to a life full of promise. A fatal mistake ended Santana's life. The next star's story is also a tragedy of a young actor, but his end was a sad, personal decision. 13. John Paul Steuer. Grace Under Fire was a huge hit in the 1990s, starring comedian Brett Butler as a single mom. For the first 3 seasons, her son, Quentin Kelly, was played by a young actor named John Paul Steuer. But what many fans don't know is that he had another, even more iconic role. He was the very first actor to play the part of Alexander Rozhenko, the Klingon son of Worf, in Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was a part of 2 massive TV franchises, but as he got older, he grew to dislike the fame. He left acting behind completely. He wanted a normal life. He moved to Portland, Oregon, and became a musician, playing in several punk rock bands. He even opened his own successful vegan restaurant. It seemed like he had found his new passion. But you see, he was struggling in ways that many people didn't see. He had deep-seated issues with his mental health. In 2018, at the age of 33, John Paul Steuer took his own life. It was a total shock to his community, a sad end for a man who tried so hard to build a new life for himself. Steuer left Hollywood, but he couldn't escape his pain. The next star also left her show, but it was because her personal struggles made it impossible to work. 14. Lisa Robin Kelly.
I am waiting for my jeans to come out of the dryer, and I want you to stay off my case. It'll only take me a minute.
I don't think Kelso's gonna last that long.
On that 70s show, Lori Foreman was the character everyone loved to hate. She was Eric's older sister, and she was manipulative, mean, and always causing trouble. And actress Lisa Robin Kelly was brilliant in the role. She had a unique, quirky energy that made the character unforgettable. She was a huge part of the show's early success. But during the show's 3rd season, her character suddenly disappeared. She was written out as having gone to beauty school. The truth was that in her personal life, Kelly was struggling badly. She had a severe dependency on harmful substances, and it was making it impossible for her to work. Her life began to spiral. Over the next few years, she had multiple run-ins with the law. Her mugshots were shocking and sad. In 2013, it seemed like she was finally ready to get help. She voluntarily checked herself into a rehab facility in California. But just a few days into her stay, the unthinkable happened. She passed away in her sleep. She was only 43. The cause was a fatal reaction to multiple substances she had in her system. Kelly's battle was public and tragic. The next star on our list was a true comedy legend, but she too was taken by a sudden, aggressive illness. 15. Madeline Kahn. Madeline Kahn was a true one-of-a-kind. She was a comedy genius, a legend of the big screen. She was famous for her roles in classic movies like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Her high-pitched, shaky voice and perfect comedic timing made her unforgettable. She was so good, she was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. In the 1990s, she joined the cast of the sitcom Cosby, not the 80s one, but the new one from 1996. She played Pauline, the quirky and lovable neighbor. In 1999, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. But here's the amazing part. She kept her battle almost entirely private. She didn't want people to feel sorry for her. She was a true professional and continued to work on the show, filming episodes while she was getting intense treatment. She was known for her humor and grace, even in the face of such a terrible illness. Sadly, the cancer was too aggressive. She passed away in December 1999 at the age of 57. She was a true legend who worked right until the very end. Khan was a legend who worked until the end. The next star was just at the beginning of a huge comeback when her life ended in a shocking, terrifying accident. 16. Naya Rivera.
We'd like to send these back. But you ate all of it. Look, I'm pretty sure you have to do what we say, and this food was not satisfactory. There was a mouse in mine. So we'd like more, please.
Naya Rivera literally grew up on television. Her very first job, at just 4 years old, was on the sitcom The Royal Family, starring the legendary Red Fox. But she became a global superstar as Santana Lopez on the monster hit show Glee. She was a triple threat. She could act, she could dance, and she had a powerhouse voice. Her character went from a mean girl cheerleader to a beloved icon for an entire community. She was known for her sharp wit and her incredible talent. After Glee ended, she took some time off, became a mother, and was just starting to get back into acting. In July 2020, she took her 4-year-old son, Josie, out on a pontoon boat on Lake Piru in California. But when the boat was late to return, staff went looking for it. They found the boat drifting, with her little boy asleep on board, all alone. A massive search began, and her body was found days later. Authorities believe the boat started to drift, and she used the last ounce of her strength to push her son back onto the boat, saving his life before she tragically drowned. She was 33. Rivera's end was heroic. The next star also had a heartbreaking health battle, fighting cancer right after another major health crisis. 17. Yvette Wilson. Yvette Wilson had one of the warmest, most welcoming smiles on TV. She was a stand-up comedian who got her big break on Moesha, playing Andel Wilkerson. She was the owner of The Den, the cafe where all the kids hung out. She was the wise-cracking, supportive, and loving adult figure in their lives. Her character was so popular that when the spin-off The Parkers was created, her character moved over to that show. She was a staple of 90s and 2000s sitcoms, a truly dependable and funny performer. But behind that smile, she was facing an almost unimaginable health crisis. Her health problems were severe. She was in desperate need of a kidney transplant and was on the waiting list. As if that wasn't bad enough, she was also diagnosed with an aggressive form of cervical cancer. She was fighting 2 massive health battles at the same time. She and her friends started a fundraiser to help with her massive medical bills, but the fight was too much for her body. In 2012, Yvette Wilson passed away. She was only 48. Wilson's fight was against 2 terrible illnesses. The next star's story is one of the most famous examples of a child star's tragic fall. 18. Dana Plato.
What are you guys gonna do with those sleepy bags? Sleep in them? No, we're gonna hang from the ceiling by our toes like bats.
In the 1980s, Different Strokes was one of the biggest shows in the world, and Dana Plato was one of its biggest stars. She played Kimberly Drummond, the kind, normal older sister to her 2 adopted brothers, Arnold and Willis. She was the perfect, relatable girl next door. The show was a cultural phenomenon, and she, along with her co-stars, became one of the most famous child actors on the planet. But the moment the show ended, her life fell apart. To put it mildly, her fall from grace was fast and brutal. She struggled to find work. She posed for glamour magazines. She had problems with the law, including a famous robbery of a video store. She also had a deep and long-lasting battle with substance dependency, and she lost custody of her son. In 1999, she went on a popular radio show to try and clear her name, claiming she was clean. Just 1 day later, she was at her fiancé's house when she passed from a fatal reaction to substances. She was only 34. Her passing was later ruled a tragic personal choice. Plato's fall from grace was a Hollywood tragedy. But she wasn't the only star from that very same show to meet a sad and early end. 19. Gary Coleman.
Welcome, gentlemen.
You talking to us?
Of course.
How about that, Willis? Downtown 2 minutes and already we're gentlemen.
What you talking about, Willis? That one line made Gary Coleman a superstar. As Arnold Jackson on Different Strokes, he was the heart and soul of the show. He was a tiny kid with perfect comedic timing and more charisma than actors 3 times his age. Here's the wow factor. At the height of his fame, Gary Coleman was the highest-paid child actor in television history. He was a true phenomenon, a cultural icon. But what many overlooked was that his small size wasn't just a gimmick. He had a serious, lifelong kidney condition. This illness stunted his growth and required him to have multiple organ transplants and daily dialysis. His whole life was a constant health battle. He also had well-known financial problems after his parents and advisors mismanaged his fortune. His adult life was very difficult. In 2010, he suffered a fall at his home in Utah, which caused a massive hemorrhage in his brain. He slipped into a coma and passed away. He was only 42 years old. Coleman's entire life was a health battle. Our final star was also a TV icon, a beloved part of a show that's still a classic, but his passing came as a shock to everyone. 20. Nicholas Colasanto.
Get my missus, I'm on my way.
Cheers. Yeah, just a sec. Is there an Ernie Pantuso here?
That's you, Coach.
Speaking.
When Cheers premiered in 1982, it was the perfect ensemble, and a huge part of its heart was Coach Ernie Pantuso, played by Nicholas Colasanto. He was the lovable, sweet, and incredibly dim-witted bartender who always got things wrong. He was the perfect father figure to the other characters. But here's the thing, Colasanto was the opposite of his character. He was a highly respected acting teacher and a successful TV director, working on shows like Bonanza and Columbo. He was also a decorated veteran of the U.S. Navy, serving in World War II. He was a heavy smoker for many years, and he had a history of heart problems. His health issues were an open secret on the set. During the 3rd season of the show, his health got worse. He was in and out of the hospital and missed filming several episodes. In 1985, he suffered a massive heart attack at his home and passed away. He was 63. His passing was a huge blow to the show, which was just hitting its peak of popularity. The cast was truly heartbroken, having lost their beloved coach.